Good evening. That's loud. I'd like to call the Whitemarsh Township Board of Supervisors meeting of December 8th, 2022 to order. A little bit of housekeeping. My name is Fran McCusker. I'm Vice Chair. I'll be serving as Chair tonight. Our Chair, Laura Boyle-Nestor, is on Zoom in the top right-hand corner, and Supervisor Manuel is traveling. We have Skylar and Jaden with us from the Plymouth Whitemarsh government class with us tonight, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please, everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Skylar and Jaden. And we have some announcements tonight. JC?
Thank you, Fran. Abolition Hall celebration occurred this past Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. The township celebrated the preservation of Abolition Hall. Many thanks to everyone who helped make this a wonderful event, with special thanks to Nicholas and Athena Karabatz and the Karabatz Foundation for their incredible generosity to make this all possible. Light Up Whitemarsh Holiday Light Contest, judging and gingerbread house decorating party will both take place this weekend. Good luck to everyone that registered for these events. The township and colonial canopy trees will be restoring the flood-damaged area on the township-owned property at Mathers Mill Lane this Sunday, December 11th, from 10 a.m. to noon. Volunteers with shovels, clippers, gloves, and a good pair of boots are needed to help. There's a change in yard waste days starting January 2nd, 2023. Yard waste days will move from Wednesdays to Mondays starting in 2023 for the entire township. All curbside trash and recycling currently on Mondays will change to Wednesdays. The 6th annual MLK Clothing Drive fundraiser will begin January 11th through the 16th, 2023 at the Cedar Grove Barn. Tonight is the last official meeting of the Board of Supervisors for 2022. I wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season and a healthy and happy new year.
Thanks, JC. I think we have a technical problem.
We're good.
Are we good? Okay. We do have a public hearing tonight. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing for conditional use number 04-22 J.D. Hill LLC 458 Germantown Pike for a beauty parlor expansion in the VC1 Village Commercial District?
So moved.
Second.
And this will go to Sean.
Okay, so there was a motion to open the public hearing. What I'm going to go ahead and do is explain the public hearing process for the Board of Supervisors and any of the public involved. Sorry, I'm on Zoom tonight. So what I'm going to go ahead and, so the Board of Supervisors will hear a presentation from the applicant. I'm going to go ahead and mark some exhibits. So we have those beforehand. Then the Board of Supervisors can go ahead and close the public hearing and take action, or they can go ahead and continue it on the record at a later date. After I go ahead and mark some exhibits, I'll turn it over to our zoning officer, Mr. Guttenplan, to give a brief explanation. So I'm going to mark as T1, a copy of this application, T2, a copy of the advertisements of this public hearing. T3 is going to be a copy of the recommendations of our planning commission, the county, and our planning agencies. T4 will be any relevant postings and notices. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Guttenplan.
Thank you.
You need to mute.
Thank you. I will share my screen in just a moment. I just want to mention that this is a conditional use in the VC1 district. The address of the property is 458 Germantown Pike, just down the street here. And the proposal is to have an expansion of an existing personal service shop, a beauty salon, which is currently on the second floor at that address, The first floor had previously been a professional office, which is now vacated, and the salon would like to expand and also occupy the first floor. It's a conditional use under section 116-290C2 of the zoning ordinance. And while I get this up on the screen, I would like to introduce David Shashkowitz, the attorney for the applicant, who will begin the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Gutenplan. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Shafkowitz. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, J.D. Hill LLC. I'd like to say, and I think I said this in front of the Planning Commission, that I'm going to be keeping you here for hours and intrigue you about this application, but luckily it's pretty self-explanatory. And the one part that I think this board will appreciate is the operator of the beauty salon that exists there today is actually the owner of the property, just through different entities, and has been a member of this community for a long time. There's an interesting opportunity, as Mr. Gutenplan had mentioned. The original insurance agency that was in the first floor had lease expired, or they vacated and couldn't renew or didn't want to renew, or working from home these days. So there was an opportunity to expand. Mr. Betko, who is the principal of the Bodie Hair Design, who is the occupant, has more of an older clientele, and she believes expanding to the first floor will allow better access for her clientele. It's really pretty basic from that perspective. There's no other changes proposed to the site. There's no changes proposed to the building. It'll be just some interior renovations, which will, as necessary, be subject to building permits. Otherwise, we expect this to be pretty straightforward. Unless the board has some questions, I do have Scott Mill with me, who is my planner and landscape architect, who designed our little sketch plan, just to show the board. Like I said, one other thing I wanted to note is that for purposes of this application, we do comply with all the zoning criteria. There's no setback relief, there's no impervious cover issues, there's no parking related stuff. So we actually have more than sufficient room for the parking. So maybe while we bring the plan up, I could have introduce Mr. Bill, maybe have him qualified in his area of expertise, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So why don't you just introduce yourself and give the board a little bit of your background?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Scott Mill. I'm a landscape architect.
Hold on one second, maybe Mr. O'Penny needs to swear.
Oh,
That's not what I'm looking at.
If you could just raise your right hand for me.
Oh, sorry.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, good evening. My name is Scott Mill. I'm a landscape architect with Van Cleef Engineering Associates. Our office is in Doylestown. I've been employed there for about 20 years. I've also been registered in Pennsylvania as a landscape architect for also about 20 years. I'm a 1997 graduate of Penn State University, Bachelor's of Landscape Architecture, and I've testified in several boards in both Bucks County and Montgomery County, whether it be zoning hearings, conditional use hearings, et cetera.
Mr. Chair, if necessary, we would just ask.
Yeah, are there any issues with his credentials? Anybody? No? Okay, we're good.
Thank you. Actually, Scott, do you have handouts with you?
I do
those
have
extra
handouts,
copies? Well,
yeah.
since we haven't had some handouts, while we're waiting for the technical side of things.
Technical problems.
I also have a copy of the board in my car just as a backup in case we do have
No worries.
continued issues.
My apologies, we're trying to figure this out.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
That's nice.
Thank you. You got it.
I don't know. I think I did.
All right, Scott, why don't you take this opportunity to review the existing features of the plan with the board and then what's being proposed?
Sure. As mentioned, the property is located along Germantown Pike, just south of here. The property, as you can see on the board there, is shaded, a little bit lighter color. It's about 50 feet in width and about 250 feet in depth, and sits about 120 feet south of Warner Road. You can see towards the street there is a brown kind of rectangular shape. That's the existing structure, which contains the business. Then there's a narrow gray strip, which is the sidewalk that leads out to the sidewalk running along Germantown Pike. Above the building or to the north of it is the driveway access to the property, which then runs from Germantown Pike to the west, directly adjacent to the building, and then opens up into the parking area to the rear of the property. There's enough room within that area to accommodate 12 parking spaces. You can also see in that area some kind of green areas. There are 3 large trees that are either on the property or very close to the property line. The one closest to the building itself is a twin tree. It's 16 inches and 20 inches. Then there's one further back. It's about a 30-inch tree. And then one kind of straddling the rear property line is about a 20-inch tree. You can also see on either side of the property other similar size structures. This property is consistent with the zoning district's permitted uses, being that it's personal service use. There are several office uses, medical uses, orthodontics, other beauty and care salons. To the rear of the property is the ball fields for St. Philip Neri School. And as mentioned, the proposal would not require any changes structurally or exteriorly to the structure itself or to the site itself. All the changes would be internally conducted and as mentioned, done with a building permit in tow. And the idea is the existing salon is located on the 2nd floor, would be to expand it into the 1st floor. So it would essentially be doubling in size and in floor area, in which what was an office use would now be the salon use. And my understanding was that the prior tenant actually bought property next door and has their real estate or their insurance agency right next door. So there's no animosity or no issues from that perspective, which kind of lends into the idea of potential for shared parking. As you come into the site, there are 2 separate driveways, but as you get a little bit deeper, the parking lot kind of merges between the 2 properties. And so there's a kind of a handshake agreement in terms of shared parking and utilizing each other's parking lots. The proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the open space plans in that this is a mixed-use corridor which encourages varied uses in this area, and this would be consistent and compliant with those requirements. As shown on the board now, shows the proposal for the 1st floor with the additional salon features, additional chairs, reception area, lobby, etc. The 2nd floor, which is the kind of the square to the right, would remain exactly the same. There would be no changes to that. And the basement, which is the square on the left, again, no changes with that either. Again, it's consistent with your zoning ordinance. It's consistent with your comprehensive plan, open space plan. We've received reviews from the fire marshal who approved the plan. We've also, leading into the planning commission meeting, received a review from Mr. Gutenplan. Didn't see any issues with that either. So yeah, we're here tonight to request conditional use for the expansion of what's already there. I think one of the comments in Mr. Gutenplan's letter dealt with parking. We had a calculation on the plan that had different numbers or different criteria for the amount of parking, but when those numbers are revised to reflect this use and the interpretation of what this use and how it fits within the zoning criteria, the requirement would be for 12 parking spaces. And again, that's what this property could, feasibly attain if it was. It's currently not striped all that well, but if you striped it per the the zoning requirements for size of parking spaces, 12 parking spaces would be achievable.
And I might want to add that the Planning Commission, when they did review this on November 8th, they did make a recommendation in favor of the approval.
Thanks.
The only question I have for you, Scott, if I may, is that did you have the opportunity to review the other zoning ordinances that are applicable to conditional use approvals?
I did.
Specifically, section 11637F, items 1 through 8?
Yes.
And do you believe the applicant can comply with all those items listed therein?
Yes.
Do you believe that the proposed use as depicted will have any negative impact on the neighborhood?
No.
With regard to the criteria set forth in section 116-292, did you review those as well?
Yes.
And those are the general criteria dealing with conditional uses?
Correct.
And you believe the applicant is in compliance with those items as well?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions, Mr. Hill.
Thank you very much. I don't really have any questions. I don't know if my other board members do, but it looks like you're going to be doubling in size in a way, but it doesn't look like a huge impact, which means business is good, and I think that's great for our businesses in our corridor. So, as long as Charlie, you think they have enough parking and we're in good shape there, I don't have any other questions in that regard.
Yeah, no, I think the parking is adequate, and as you heard, there is some potential opportunity for shared parking at a later date.
Any other board comment?
Just a question along
Sorry, Laura.
that line was what is the capacity of clients at one time?
I guess Ms. Rebecca can address that.
Is it okay, Mr. Chair, if we have Ms. Rebecca answer that
Yes.
question? I have the court reporter swear in.
State your name for me, please.
Jeanette Herbetko,
Spell your last name.
H-E-R-B as in boy, E-T-K-O.
Thank you. If you raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear the testimony you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So in regards to the salon, if there's, according to the State Board of Cosmetology, square footage wise, it allows for 4 chairs on the first floor. It is a small space, so I'm looking to expand into a proper lobby and have things that we don't have at the salon, like laundry facilities. So some of that space is taking what we are missing on the second floor, and especially the accessibility for the clients with the steps. And right now there are 5 stylists. We rotate shifts. And what we really liked, which worked out well with the pandemic, was having one stylist split shifts into 2 chairs so that clients have more space. So, with the capacity from the state board to have at least 10 chairs, it doesn't mean we will always have 10 stylists and 10 chairs being used. It's really for having things that we're missing, like I said, like laundry, a little more lobby space, more retail space, and just being more spread out. And that's really the goal, and primarily the accessibility for the clients, because there's an issue, as they're getting older.
So back to Chair Nestor's question. How many do you think you would have in there at one time? Like, what would be the capacity?
I would say probably there's usually 6 to 8 clients there. When it's fully expanded, we don't have now with 6 chairs upstairs, 6 stylists with 6 clients working at the same time. We have part-time split shifting where some stylists come in the morning, some come in the evening. We don't have all 6 chairs being utilized at the same time,
Great.
even existing,
Okay.
if that helps.
Are you looking to expand your, clientele base in terms of the types of clients you service, or is it more just providing more services to your current base?
Absolutely, we like to, we have a lot of clients from the community, and as a business, we're always looking to gain new business, for sure. But we have a strong clientele base. I've been there for a long time, 18 years.
Okay.
And, really, we are looking to maintain new business. People move away. You're always looking to have new clients. But I think more importantly, the clients that I've been servicing for 18 years, they are getting older, I'm getting older, and I hear often, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna make it up those steps.
Yeah.
So I think that's becoming a daily thing, and more so when Allstate vacated the downstairs, I thought this is the time, rather than trying to rent to someone else when there's a lot of availability. Me looking to expanding to keep this business in the community for sure.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you take walk-in business, or is it by appointment only?
By appointment only. Yeah, we don't take walk-in business. We're booked by appointment, so we really can't accommodate.
So that probably helps with the flow as well.
It does. We really do manage our flow. It's important to us, and, it's not an exact science where clients, one's in, one is out. It really, you can only do one person at a time, so,
Sure.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Laura?
No, I'm good.
Any public comment? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Ready to vote on this? Okay. I will take a vote on this now. Do I have a motion to approve conditional use number 04-22, J.D. Hill LLC, 458 Germantown Pike, for an expansion of a beauty salon in the VC1 Village Commercial District?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Carries.
I hope
Thank you.
everybody has a happy holiday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from November 10th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to ordinances. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1018, fixing the tax rate millage at 2.3633 for all real property within Whitemarsh Township for the year 2023?
So moved.
Second.
And that goes to Rick.
Thank you, Mr. McCusker. We have the 2023 budget, which is the most important thing that we need to do tonight, and adopt that budget. You read off the millage of 2.3633. That millage rate is the same as last year, meaning that there is no new tax increase for 2023. I'm going to turn this over for a presentation on the 2023 budget to our Finance Director, Kevin Barron.
Good evening. Charlie, could you share? Yeah. I hope so.
Thank you, Charlie. As we are here today to present the 2023 final budget. As you all know, we started on October 1st. That's when we, the Township Finance Department and the department heads, issued the board a budget book. The Township itself and departments started back in August. All the departments met with myself and Rick. We went over numbers and put numbers together. And we met October 10th and 17th with the departments and the ancillary groups, the firehouses, the ambulance, the library. So preliminary budget was approved on November 10th, and here we are today, December 8th, to approve the adopted budget. So as Rick said, we have a balanced budget. The total revenues are $20,333,362. Right? Total expenditures, $20,333,362. So we are balanced with a zero deficit. It's a good thing. As I did in the preliminary, I've showed you the different revenues that come in through the year. There are the numbers. As a lot of people like to look at pretty little graphs, so that's the graph that makes up the numbers before that. As you can see, if you take the real estate property tax, the real estate, and the business taxes, that probably makes 75% of the revenues that come into the township. All the others are little fees that we collect for. We get interest income, we get fines and forfeitures, licenses, and then miscellaneous income throughout. Here are the expenditures. Sorry, I went the wrong way. By department and or categories that we've set in the budget, legislative, executive. Again, they're the numbers that make up the budgets. And as I said in the revenues, here's the expenditures. Breaking out each department to show with a nice graph. Why are we positive? Real estate taxes are good. We collect probably 98% of what is billed. So 2% gets turned over to the county delinquent. Earned income tax revenue is very good in this last year. And it's already, it's not close to budget yet, but we still have the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter is not due to Berkheimer till January. So some of that comes in January, February. So we're going to definitely hit budget, and we're going to, go past that. Our business taxes, again, are over budget already, and we still have one more month to collect, so that's a good thing. Real estate transfer tax, it is less than last year, but is above budget. I'll show you a graph a little later on some of this. Building permits are on budget, and with the electrical permits. Health insurance costs are down due to some things we changed with the, oh, it's sensitive. With some things we changed with all the employees to start the year, changing their health insurance plans. Decrease in the MMO police pension plan for last year and this year. Reserve fund balance and liquid fuels funds. So this is the earned income tax. Unfortunately, the last part of that is blocked because we're on Zoom. But the last column.
I apologize for that. It's not
you.
I'm not seeing it on here.
Yes. You can see at the bottom of the screen in 2022. I can tell you, as of when I put the graph together, it was $5,600,000. As of today, we've collected $6,300,000. So that's I did the numbers as of the end of November, so in 8 days, I've collected another $700,000. And the fourth quarter hasn't come in yet. So we're going to hit budget, and it's very good. I know during budget process, we were asked, how about when people start going back to the city of Philadelphia? So when we did budget, we were very conservative. We took that into effect, and we didn't budget the full number that we were told by Berkheimer that we could collect. We lowered that down a little bit. Again, we were conservative to make sure we don't under or over budget revenues and not collect them. Again, it's being blocked. Sorry, I didn't think of this. I would have slid it over. But the 2022 number of business taxes is $2,221,000. That is as of November 28th. We haven't got the November 30th distribution. We get two distributions a month from the business tax company. So we haven't got November 30th, or again, that will be December 15th and December 30th. Mercantile, to date, we were at $726,000. Last year was $915,000. And the amusement tax, we've collected $55,000 as of when the graph was put together. Again, this is blocking the last column. We didn't think about that when we did the preliminary. We didn't have that last column blocked. But again, they show that it's a graph showing the numbers I just explained to you. We're right on track with the business taxes, the same as last year. Mercantile tax, we've collected $726,000. The budget's $710,000. We still have a little bit more left in December, which is really cleaning up what people hadn't filed. So amusement tax is $55,000 collected, and we budgeted $45,000. So real estate transfer tax, to date, we've collected. When I did this graph, I just can't see it. It was $852,000. We've got the November D transfer. We're now at $936,000 in D transfer. Last year at this time, we were $1.1 million, or total budget of $1.1 million. The assessed value for next year's taxes are almost exactly the same as this year's taxes, so that's a good thing, because sometimes with the assessments being lowered, we could lose assessments, but we've stayed the same, so that's good. When I did the budget, we did have a tax assessment decrease, so again, that's something that has balanced the budget. Sorry, general debt service is almost the same exact number as it is this year, $1,022,503. It's a little bit less than it was this year. This is a graph that we like to show. This is the total graph of all the taxes in Montgomery County. As you see, the biggest one is the school district. Purple one is Montgomery County tax. Sorry, that's a community college tax. The green one is Montgomery County tax, and there's two greens, sorry. The brighter green is Whitemarsh Township. So that's the pie that is coming to Whitemarsh Township. So it's 7.61% of the taxes that are billed. The rest go to all the other facilities. That's all I have.
Thanks, Kevin.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Like that tie.
Yours is nice as well. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Skylar, Jaden, anything?
We were just going to say.
You want to come up to the
Come up to the podium.
come up to the podium?
Thank you.
We just wanted to say, if you wanted to see the last column of the graphs, you could just drag the people over to the other side.
Usually, a high school student, that's
We didn't want to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Thank you very much. They've earned their extra credit. I hope you're getting extra credit for this.
Yeah.
All right.
May
Mr.
I ask
Miller?
a question?
Sure.
This is Sidel Zove. I have a question about the rental revenue, and I'm wondering if that includes projected rental revenue for the recently vacated bank space, and more generally, what is the status of that space?
You can say the projection, I'll tell the status. Go ahead.
The projection for the rent of that building is 0 for next year, because at this time, we do not have a person renting that place. If someone
Okay,
does
so
rent
you're
it, it'll be a plus.
Thank you. Taking a conservative approach. Thank you.
And it is currently on the market for lease.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody? Mr. Miller, call the roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Tureen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. All right, do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1019, amending Chapter 58, grading, erosion control, stormwater management, and best practices to bring the chapter into compliance with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's 2022 Model Stormwater Management Ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Krista?
Good evening, thank you. As part of its municipal stormwater program, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection is requiring municipalities to adopt or amend an ordinance that is consistent with their model stormwater ordinance. As you know, we have a MPDES permit through DEP to operate our stormwater system, and this is part of the requirement of that permit. So we are required to do this. I can go through some of the main additions and changes, but while doing this, we also have the opportunity to clarify our existing ordinance, which is broken into 2 separate documents, and this will merge them. That's Chapter 58 and Resolution 2004-8. So that'll bring some clarity to the current ordinance. And then as far as what the model ordinance is adding, there's some new definitions. There's a clearer list of prohibited discharges. There's a big section about what to do with limestone geology, which we have a lot of in the township, so that's helpful. There's some new design methods for water quality, which is a good addition. And then there's a riparian buffer easement requirement for land developments. That's kind of the general gist of what's being added. Otherwise, it's the same document that we currently operate on with those few things in addition. And any questions? I will take them.
Thanks, Trista. Any board questions?
I'm good.
Laura, no? Any public comment questions?
I have a question.
Sure, come on up to the podium, please.
My name is Ron Antello. I live on Pine Tree Road, next to the swell. Any of those new ordinances would affect the way the water management is designed now?
No.
And the future planning, which I guess we're going to hear from later on, correct? But the new definitions and the new, the adoption of this is not going to affect the management of that water.
I would say no. One good addition is now, for the rainfall rates, we have explicit numbers in the ordinance. The revised ordinance references the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA.
NOAA.
So as those change over time, they'll just automatically be cross-referenced to that document. It won't be static numbers. So that will help. As rainfall rates increase over time, it'll be moving along with that.
So there's no big changes to what we are doing right now regarding those new ordinances or the adoption of this new terminology, I gather, right?
Not with regard to the rate of flow in a pipe and the amount of water. It's more focused on water quality.
Okay.
So infiltrating and evapotranspiration.
All right. I guess those are the issues will be dealt with later on in the agenda. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, Mr. Miller, please call roll.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Ms. Tereen,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes,
Chair Nestor.
Yes.
ordinance carries. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1020, amending and restating the provisions in Chapter 55 pertaining to tree protection standards?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. McCusker. As Supervisor Toll explained it at our last meeting, we're here after many months of a lot of hard work and dedication by many volunteers to amend Chapter 55, which is our tree protection ordinance. This is something that's kind of been a long time coming. A lot of time put into this, and the entire process has allowed the ordinance to be strengthened, has allowed us to continue to look at the canopy in Whitemarsh Township. I always tease, but it's really true. Whitemarsh loves their trees, and this is really the way that it's being shown. So that as future development comes through, that those developments are held to a high standard. They're able to preserve as much canopy as possible, and in areas where there is canopy or trees that are removed, that they are being reforested to the utmost ability. So what we have here, after all of that hard work by many of those dedicated volunteers, is the amendment to be approved by the board tonight. I will also say that several folks that were involved or maybe not directly involved but supported this. We received emails, they could not be here, but certainly supported the amended Chapter 55 as it is stated here tonight. This has been advertised and it is before you for your consideration to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any board comment questions?
I don't have any questions, and I said my remarks last month in detail, but I just want to say thank you again to the working group and to the arborist and all the folks that that weighed in and made this possible. I'm very, very excited.
Thanks, JC. Any public comment, questions?
Steve Kaufman, Harts Ridge Road. I served on the committee. I don't have a great deal to say. I mean, JC said it all last time, and I spoke the last time. Steve Ziegler wanted to be here, but got called away by work. I think he's one of the people that sent in an email. And also Tam, I think, is attending. I at least see her name over there. I think that hopefully this gets adopted. And I think that we all face a constructive challenge after adoption, which is to make sure that we administer this thoroughly and fairly and rigorously, which is going to require a learning curve on the parts of all of us. And I think this also bears on staffing patterns, if I can, because of course there's going to be a transition in terms of replacing Sean Halbaum, but it's going to require some staff time. It's also, since we now have a fee in lieu in the ordinance, probably more money is going to be used on tree replacement, and that might grow hopefully beyond the capacity of the volunteers who are now planting those trees and watering them. So there's just budgetary implications down the road, not huge ones, for making sure that the ordinance is administered fairly and that the proceeds of the fee in lieu are spent as responsibly as possible. But thank you very much, everybody. And Patrice, I don't think anybody has thanked you yet for your work on our committee, so I just wanted to say that. I know you had to leave for a higher calling. And of course, thank you very much to JC.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Any other public comment? Again, thank you to everybody who put so much time into this and time and effort, and this is going to really help our township in a big way. Mr. Miller, I want to call a roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Tureen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1021, transferring collection of delinquent light and hydrant fees to Portnoff Law Associates? Mr. Miller, okay. Motion.
Oh, so moved.
Second, sorry.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. McCusker. This is having a new tax collector for our delinquent light and hydrant fees. They currently, Portnoff is collecting our refuse fees, has done a nice job in doing that. This is the other fee that the township does collect as part of the tax bill. You'll hear that a little bit later on, but for any delinquent light or hydrant fees, this allows Portnoff Law to be the delinquent collector of those fees.
Thank you. Do we have any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Hearing none, Mr. Miller, please call a roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Tureen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. We'll move on to resolutions. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-27, authorizing the submission of a PA Small Water and Sewer Program grant in the amount of $642,950.78 for the stormwater projects located in the area of Pine Tree Road?
So moved.
Second.
Krista.
What this is a grant application in support of a project that's currently in design for stormwater collection and conveyance along Pine Tree, Fields, Hayne, and Jackson. That project is still being designed, but we identified this in the next grant to help fund that. And what this would do is authorize Rick Miller to sign any grant agreements that come along if and when we get that grant.
Thanks, Krista. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Hearing none. Mr. Miller, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Ms. Tureen,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes.
Resolution carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-28, authorizing the submission of a H2O PA grant in the amount of $642,950.78 for the stormwater projects located in the area of Pine Tree Road?
So moved.
Second.
This is another grant that's offered to support stormwater projects for the same one as previously described, and we're allowed to apply for both concurrently. So we may or may not get both or one, or, well, I'm not going to say the third option.
Thanks, Krista.
Yep.
Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Come on.
Just a quick
Yeah,
question.
come on.
Are those state grants or federal grants or what? where is
They
the money coming
are, I believe they're funded by the Department of DCED, Community.
They're state grants, yeah.
State
So it's through the
grants.
Commonwealth Financing Authority through the Department of Conservation, at DCD, or is it DCD?
DCNR.
Department of Conservation and National Resources, DCNR, get my
State
acronyms.
grants.
So it is a state grant, both are state grants. One is through the PA Small Water and Sewer Program, the second is through H2O PA, so the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania grants.
And the support that we have before those grantors have been explored, I gather, politically with our representatives, local, state representatives, et cetera. Would that be helpful to write some support to
There
those
are
people?
many, many documents that get submitted along with this, and then as part of the application, those representatives may or may not receive notification of them. We haven't reached out.
Wouldn't be a good idea to do it?
It may or may not. We can look into that.
I would suggest. I'm a very interested party. I live in Pine Tree Road.
I'd just like to jump in and say, Krista being with Gilmore and being, a member of our township engineer for such a long time, they are so skilled. And Krista especially is so skilled at the grant process. So thank you, Krista, for your ongoing efforts to look into grants to help fund these really important projects. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Laura.
Take the opportunity to thank you too.
Yep.
I know how involved you've been. You've been visiting our area and we had some conversations there. So thank you
Many
for the
times.
interest and thank you for the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
you.
Thanks, Krista.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Mr. Miller, please call a roll.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Ms. Tureen,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Resolution carries, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-29, repealing resolution number 2004-8, which has been replaced by the new 2022 model stormwater management ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Rick?
This is, thank you, Mr. McCusker. This is what we explained earlier, but as an administrative step, we need to repeal the ordinance that was, or I'm sorry, the resolution that has been taken place by the ordinance that you adopted earlier this evening.
Okay.
Mechanics that we need to do.
Process.
So that it's
Process.
out, yes, so we're
Got
no
it.
longer referring to that.
Any board comment?
No.
No.
Any public comment? Mr. Miller, please call a roll.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Ms. Tureen,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes.
Resolution carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-30, authorizing the intergovernmental agreement with Plymouth, Whippane, and Upper Dublin Townships for the 904 PA DEP Recycling Program Performance Grant submission through Hoff Associates, subject to the solicitor's final review and approval of the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Rick?
Thank you, Mr. McCusker. This is something that we have had in place for the 10 years that I've been here, and even further back, is we have engaged the services of Huff Associates to submit our recycling performance grant application to DEP. As part of that grant application, in order to maximize the funds and grant monies that we receive, we go in an intergovernmental agreement with the surrounding municipalities of Plymouth, Whippane, Upper Dublin Townships. That allows us to maximize the amount of funding that we're able to receive. Huff Associates gathers the information from not just the residential, but also the commercial recycling that is done in this community, and then submits it on the township's behalf. DEP is requiring an update of these agreements that are in place. The reason that we put in there upon the solicitor's final review is because we need to coordinate with the other municipalities. Again, we've done this before. This is just DEP requiring us to update it again so that we can submit our grant and also receive the appropriate funding.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. Any board comment? No. Any public comment? Hearing none, Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Treen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-31, authorizing 2022 budget amendments?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, so every year as part of, we're going through a lot of the budget piece of this that we're required to do annually. So the budget amendment here is related to our capital equipment reserve, moving the money that is in our general fund over to our capital fund. And it's really, we established this many years ago as almost a depreciation account so that it can then help fund future large equipment purchases that are requested through the Public Works Department. So the amount is $50,000 going over to the capital outlay for future machine and equipment.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. Any board comment?
No.
Public comment? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Treen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Resolution carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-32, authorizing 2022 interfund balance transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Barron.
Okay, thank you.
This is an annual resolution approval of budget transfers. Now, it's transferring money from general fund to the capital fund, general money fund to the refuse fund, general fund to the hydrant and light fund. They're already budgeted numbers, and you already approved them when you approved the budget last year. But to cover everything and make sure we do it right, we always approve it at the last meeting of the year, that the transfers are again approved again. And then one change we did, we only budgeted $100,000 to go to capital at the end of the year when we did the budget last year because of things, and the 2022 is doing so well that we're transferring $550,000 to capital for next year's projects, which helps us budget or balance the budget for capital and what money's being moved over there and what we're budgeting for all the departments. So that's the only change from the original budget. So since we were doing that, we did all of them.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Treen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Resolution carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-33, authorizing an operating and capital plan budget for 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
So this is kind of the anticlimactic piece here. This is actually adopting our operating and our capital budget. We had Mr. Barron went through and looked at our 2022 revenues, made some adjustments based on the work budget to where we are today. Also looked at our 2023 revenues and our 2023 expenses, made some adjustments. And as you saw in the budget presentation, we have a balanced budget of $20.3 million for the year 2023. Also, we have the capital budget as well. The capital budget, bear with me a second. There's a lot of slides to go through. I want to get the exact number here. I'll have it in a second. I got it. Is just over $3 million for 2023. It's a 3-year capital program that is outlined and will be posted on the website. It includes requests from all the departments, including other requests. We mentioned, larger scale infrastructure project, one of which we approved the grant for earlier this evening, which goes through, and as Mr. Barron mentioned, we were able to transfer additional funds due to our increase in revenues over to the Capital Improvement Fund, which will help balance the expenditures requested for 2023, as well as start to look at future expenditures in 24 and 25.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment, questions? Mr. Miller, and please call a roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Tureen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Resolution carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-34, authorizing the 2023 refuse fee of $412 per residential dwelling unit for the collection and disposal of trash, recycling, and yard waste?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. McCusker. As you know, the township has approved a new trash contract with Mascara. We did that earlier this year. As a result of those fees, what we are recommending is that the trash fee be increased to $412. We're recommending that that rate would be in place for 23 and 24 budget years. So it will be an increase from last year, and that increase goes to $412 for 2023 per dwelling unit.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Mr. Miller, and please call the roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Tureen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Sorry, yes.
Resolution carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-35, authorizing the 2023 streetlight fee of $38 per dwelling unit and fire hydrant fee of $21 per dwelling unit?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Barron.
This is something we're trying to straighten out. Back in May, I brought this to the board. The light and hydrant fee was billed based on the frontage of your property, which was probably passed back in the 70s or 80s. So we talked about this and we said we didn't feel that was fair. So what we talked about was that, like for the hydrants, I pay $115,000 a year. We have so many residents paying the hydrant fee, take the 115 divided by the residents, and we come up with a fee, and everyone pays the same dollar amount. God forbid your house goes on fire, the hydrant's being used by you or your neighbor or whatever, it shouldn't be based on the frontage of your house. Same thing with the lights. We took the lights fee that we pay Pico, and we divided it by the people paying the light fee and came up with a dollar amount. So some people's will go up, some people's will go down, but it won't be based on the frontage of your house, it'll be based on total bills. So that's why we're putting this in front of you.
Thanks, Mr. Barron. Makes sense. We talked about this, and I think we have a good understanding of it. Do we have any other board comment?
No. No.
Any public comment? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Tureen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Resolution carries. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-36, authorizing the 2023 fee schedule, which will take effect on January 1st, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. McCusker. Each year at this December meeting of the board, we go over the fee schedule for the next year. In this case, it's the 2023 fees. This includes, the large majority of this is Parks and Recreation for all the various programs that they put in place. But also there is some time, we all look at, all our departments look at the fees to make some adjustments based on cost, based on experience and how the fee is calculated, trying to make it a little more efficient, effective, in which we are charging our permit fees so that our fees are covering our costs in the township. And before you is the entire fee schedule, which will take effect, if adopted here tonight, January 1st of 2023.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Mr. Miller, please call to roll.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Ms. Tureen?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes.
Resolution carries. We'll move on to motions. Do I have a motion to authorize Keystone Municipal Services Incorporated to assist the township in third-party inspection services related to rental inspections, plan review, and other building and code inspection matters?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. McCusker. Unfortunately, we had a bit of an emergency with an employee who has left the township and needed to fill a quick void here with respect to our Building and Codes Department. Keystone Municipal Services is a third party. They're a full-service review building inspection company specializing in code enforcement, zoning, rental inspections. Bringing them in, they would help manage our rental inspection program. They would also help inspect any new developments, such as Longfield or whatever they're calling it now, as well as help with our current Director of Building and Codes in handling any kind of residential, commercial additions, alterations, anything that he would need assistance on. This would allow us some time to then determine the kind of future staffing that would be needed in that department, but certainly something that's needed given the workload within that department, given the recent departure of an employee.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Sorry.
My name is Kent Purdy. I'm an architect in the township. One concern when I hear about Keystone is timeframes for approval. I would recommend that you consider asking them to put timeframes on the time they spent approving, because they often take more time than a township-led review.
Okay, thanks for the feedback. All right. We'll look
That's
into
something we can discuss, absolutely.
Yeah,
Not a
cool.
problem. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the feedback on that. Any other public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to authorize the expenditure of $20,750 by the Highlands Historical Society for property insurance at the Highlands, 7001 Sheaf Lane?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
This is another request. We had one, I believe it was 2 months ago, from the Highlands Historical Society as part of our agreement with the conservation easement monies that was purchased with the Highlands Historical Society. And as you see in their request, this is to provide insurance at the property, given the Highlands Historical Society is now the owner of the structures that are on that property, to the amount of $20,725.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And I spoke with Ed Shin, who is the president of the Highlands Board, and he assured me that they had a broker that shopped the insurance and they got the best and lowest price for their insurance for the property. Is there any other board comment?
No.
No.
Any public comment? I think Ms. Zove has her hand up there.
Yes, thank you, Sidel Zove. I know that the request that came in a couple of months ago was for improvements, capital improvements to the buildings and the grounds. This seems to be a request that would be more appropriately identified as an operating cost, and I'm confused about the appropriate use of the conservation easement funding. I thought it was restricted to capital improvements, so perhaps someone could address that. I'm just confused that the payment of an insurance premium would come out of the conservation easement funding.
Mr. Miller.
The funding, in accordance with the agreement, it says that any funds would have to be approved by the Board of Supervisors. So it doesn't specify exactly what those funds could be used for. That's really the discretion and authorization from the Board of Supervisors, given the request of the Highlands.
So a follow-up question I have would then be whether it would be the intention of the Board of Supervisors to consistently approve expenditures that are non-capital in nature, routine expenses.
Well, I guess that's something we could talk about, in the future.
Yeah, I think at this point, that's, certainly a discretion of the board, and the board can, evaluate each expenditure, as they come in, and certainly if the board has concerns, they can relay that to the Highlands appropriately.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve a hold harmless agreement for outdoor seating improvements in the ultimate right-of-way at 1100 Hector Street?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Guttenplan.
Thank you. This is a hold harmless agreement for the Spring Mill Corporate Center. It's a result of a pending land development waiver request, which the Planning Commission will be looking at next week, and with, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have to X out of that. You can't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not looking at that. The land development waiver request will be reviewed by the Planning Commission next week and will probably be on your January agenda, but the hold harmless agreement needs to be in place in order to proceed with that. And this is for a restaurant that is going to take the place of the corner at Hector and Lee Street that used to be Zoe's Cafe for a time. It's a new restaurant called Goat's Beard, which is located currently also in Wayne and in Manayunk. This will be the third location. And the reason for the hold harmless is because they would like to install some outdoor seating. And there are currently some existing improvements in the ultimate right-of-way of Lee Street, in particular a low stone wall and a couple of trees and a few other improvements. And with the proposal, there would be some additional plantings within a planter and a fence area also in this alternate right-of-way. All of the seating area and decking for the most part is outside of the ultimate right-of-way. A very small portion of the decking is within it. And the next slide illustrates it in a much better fashion. So this fence that I'm kind of outlining along the street is in the ultimate right-of-way with the planter behind it. This existing low wall is there now. And most of the seating and all the other improvements that you see are out of the ultimate right-of-way. This has been reviewed by Nick Weaver, the fire marshal. He has no issue with it. The police chief also reviewed this and found no sight distance issues as long as this is a plan that is pursued and that they don't have any other improvements any closer to the intersection with Hector Street, which, again, we're looking at this area here, Hector Street's out here, and this is the intersection. So based on the reviews by Nick Weaver and the police chief and what staff has looked at, we're recommending approval of this hold harmless agreement to allow this to move forward.
Thanks, Charlie.
Welcome.
Do you have any board comment?
None.
Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve a hold harmless agreement for a monument sign in the ultimate right-of-way at 827 Bethlehem Pike?
So, second.
Back to you, Charlie.
Thank you. This is something that you may remember has come before you in the past. Montgomery Animal Hospital at 827 Bethlehem Pike. Back in 2018, you approved a hold harmless agreement for a monument sign. They did a number of improvements, but that monument sign was never installed. They have since become a larger landowner. They now own this parcel directly adjacent to the animal hospital. As you can see a little bit better on the plan, this is the triangular parcel that they've previously owned, and this long kind of rectangular parcel is now being added to the animal hospital, and they are making some improvements pending a zoning hearing board application to be heard in January. Part of that plan shows a monument sign right here where you see this little red area. It is in a better location for the sake of the hospital to be right at the corner of the new parcel. Since this was not the subject of the old hold harmless agreement, we needed a new one for this monument sign. Again, Police Chief Ward has reviewed this, sees no issues with it, and staff is recommending approval.
Thanks, Charlie.
Welcome.
Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to authorize the escrow release number 4 for Robbins Golf Holdings LLC, 27 East Germantown Pike, in the amount of $12,270.63?
So moved.
Second.
Krista.
This is escrow release number 4 for 27 East Germantown Pike, which was the rehab of a historic building down near Butler Pike and a parking lot expansion. The request is for $12,270.63, and our office has inspected the site and found the improvements to have been constructed in accordance with the plan and are recommending release of this amount.
Thanks, Krista. Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve expenditures totaling $1,358,813.75 and payroll totaling $722,834.42 and pension paid costs totaling $4,716.92 for November 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Any board comment? Public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for a deck, patio, and outdoor fireplace at 1 Catherine Lane?
So moved.
Second.
Charlie.
Thank you. This is similar to what you've seen in a lot of the other Maple Hill homes. Maple Hill, as you know, was built just in the last few years, but is in the historic district, so these improvements have been reviewed by HARB. The HARB meeting yesterday, the 7th of December, was technically an unofficial meeting. We had 4 members present. 5 members are needed for a quorum and for a vote. However, this is a pretty simple project, again, similar to many that have been approved, and staff and HARB have recommended approval of the certificate of appropriateness.
Thanks, Charlie. Any board comment? Public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for a roof replacement at 30 East Germantown Pike?
So moved.
Second.
Charlie?
This is also a very simple application, was also reviewed by the unofficial meeting of HARB yesterday. This is half of a twin dwelling at 30 East Germantown Pike. This was actually an emergency repair because the roof was leaking. So the roof that you are about to hopefully approve has been installed and is on the building now. So we are recommending, and HARB is recommending, the issuance of the certificate. It's a like replacement for what was there before.
All right. Thanks, Charlie.
Welcome.
Any board comment?
No.
Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, that brings us to the public comment period. Does anybody have any public comment? Skylar, Jaden, anything? Did you learn anything?
Yes.
Did you? Did you?
Yeah.
We'll talk after the meeting. I want to hear 3 things you took away because you can, anyway. Any board comment?
No.
I'd like to announce we had executive session tonight discussing real estate. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Happy holidays, Whitemarsh, and a very pleasant new year.
Happy holidays,
Happy holidays.
Whitemarsh. Good
Thanks.
night.
Good night.
Good night.